Welcome back to Dom's Corner, everybody. I'm your host, Dom Martino, and sitting over to my left is Mr. Adam Leach. Adam, how you doing today?
Pretty good. How are you?
Doing pretty well, man. Doing pretty well. And then down to the bottom, of course, is Miss Samee Ramirez with the microphone today. How you doing, Samee?
Doing good. Doing good. Hopefully you can hear me better now. Happy to be here. Happy to sound better.
Yeah.
Sounding crisp.
Sounded very crisp, that's for sure, 100%. So thanks for being here. And yeah, guys, today, of course, we're talking about Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Very excited to talk about this movie upon a rewatch, and should be a lot of fun. I've always enjoyed this one quite a bit, so I'll let you know if my opinion's changed or not, and so will everybody else. But hey, guys, before we get started, please hit the like button below, subscribe to the channel, leave some feedback in the comment section, share this with your friends, and hit that bell for notifications. We're going to get right into Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, this time directed by Mr. David Yates. And yeah, so rewatched this movie today. I have very fond memories of going to Florida and seeing this movie. Like, I didn't travel to Florida for the movie, but I just happened to be in Florida when it had come out, and I usually saw these on opening night, and I'll never forget going with my cousin and a couple of her friends out there, and I just remember being blown away. I'll never forget, they didn't own Goblet of Fire at their house at my cousin's place, so I remember that we rented it off pay-per-view and watched it that way. Remember pay-per-view back in the day? Gotta love it. Yeah. But yeah, so we rented it off pay-per-view, watched it that way, and yeah, just really enjoyed it. Enjoyed Goblet of Fire because they hadn't seen it, and then we just were so pumped for Order of the Phoenix the next day, and I think that just gave into the feeling of that I had when I first saw this in the theater. It wasn't just being in Florida with my cousin, it was just the fact that, you know, we were just like having a Harry Potter week together almost. I remember even Harry Potter movies playing on TV that whole week because, you know, just to prep everybody for Order of the Phoenix. And yeah, it was just a really fun week the week I saw this film, and I just remember coming back and I had to see it again. And I think we even went again, me and my cousin and her friends went again that same week that I was there. So just a really fun time. But rewatched it today, as we all probably did, and I'll let you know my thoughts here in a second. But we will start with Adam, as we always do on this. And Adam, what are your overall thoughts on Order of the Phoenix now?
First of all, when I saw this movie, I remember watching this one probably more than some of the others because I won tickets to one of the first showings from my orthodontist.
Oh wow!
And my cousin and I got to go, and I just remember, for some reason, I remember watching this one in the theater very vividly.
Yeah, me too.
And just absolutely blown away. Just blown away.
Yeah.
And then I got to tell my book story.
This is the one with the book story. This is amazing. Go ahead.
So when the book came out, I was in elementary school. I was still pretty young. You remember the book fairs at the school?
Oh, yeah.
The Scholastic book fairs, and you get the little ads for
Bought quite
them,
a few of my Harry Potter books there too. So yeah, I get it, man. I get
you
it.
mean the greatest day of the school
Absolutely.
year? Absolutely, I remember.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So this was the first time I think I actually bought a book from the book fair. I would always buy car posters and flexible pencils and crap like that. But I saw that the Harry Potter and the Order of Phoenix was coming out, and I was excited. I was like, oh, I'm going to get this at the book fair. I had my change jar, and I wanted it so bad more than anything. And it was like $24.95 or something. And I sat in my living room, and I had nothing but pennies, dimes, and nickels. And I counted out $25 in pennies, dimes, and nickels in this giant Ziploc bag. And I went to that book fair, slapped that big book on the counter, and dumped my coins everywhere, and spent the next 15 minutes counting all of them out. And so that was actually the first book that I tried to read. I don't know why. Probably because it was the first book I purchased myself. And I thought it was super cool. So that was actually the first book I attempted to read. Later, I tried I don't even know if I actually finished all of them because I was an ADD child and I got distracted easily. But um, yeah, I went back and read the others later. But so this, because of that, this movie has a really special place in my heart for whatever reason, because I'm a very I'm a very loyal person when it comes to things. And in my mind, I view that was the first book that I bought with my money, and it was the first Harry Potter book I really got into and I tried to read. And it was the first one I really remember connecting with in the theater. So, because of that, when you ask me what my favorite Harry Potter movie is, this one can never be out of the question because I have some sort of emotional connection with it. But anyway, watching it again, my overall thoughts. Um, I freaking love this movie so much. I I can't even describe how much I love this movie. The only bad things I have to say about it are just that there are times where I almost wish they would have divided it into two parts because this is a big book. There's a lot of
It's
details.
the largest, I believe. I think it's
Hmm.
the
Very
I
big.
think so.
longest.
I think so.
Yeah. And there are a lot of details and there are moments in the first half where you can feel that it was crammed. You can feel that there was a lot of stuff they had to go through. And it started to feel kind of jumpy, like, wow, we are really moving at a blistering pace. Um, but I mean, there's really no way to get around that. It's a giant ass book. I mean, it really is. So, if they would have decided to break it up into two parts, kind of Deathly Hallows style, where the story builds in the first one and is a little boring, and then they just go balls out on the second one, I would not have argued against it. But even with that said, this movie is tremendous. Um, I know every time we review one of these, I say that the next one sets a new tone. The next one sets a new tone. The next one sets a new tone. And it continues with the theme. I genuinely consider Order of the Phoenix to be the movie that officially sets the tone like, okay, we're dark now. Like we
Right.
are fully cloaked in darkness. It's getting real. The kids are starting to feel more like adults. You're starting to see a lot of emotional range from Harry. Voldemort is back in full force. You really start to feel this sense of dread, and you feel that in the Goblet of Fire a little bit, but that movie's more focused on the games until the very end of the movie. This one just has a different feel, and it's
Yeah.
very dark looking. And anyway, I this movie's phenomenal to me. Which ironically, it's one of my favorite movies while holding my least favorite character. Umbridge is, I have nothing but terrible things to say about that woman, but I guess that's a testament to the acting and the way that the character was written because I mean, man, she really makes you hate that character. Like, there's no character I have ever seen in a series. Megan and I were just talking about this. There's no character either of us have ever seen in a movie or a series that we hate more than Umbridge. I cannot stand that woman,
Yeah.
but I think that adds to the whole feel of the movie. So anyway, that was my long-winded explanation.
Well, going back to the book, this is one thing. I guess my book story, with this is like I remember getting this book from a Scholastic, book fair,
Nice.
and I just remember the second I brought it home, my sister was like more excited about it than I was. So I didn't see that book for about a week. Once I brought it home, she just kind of binged through it, like went right through it. That she spent the whole week doing that. And then she just like told me, she's like, oh my god, you got to read this. And I read it, and I think it turned out to be one of my favorite books in the series for sure. Like, I think I still liked Azkaban and Sorcerer's Stone better as books, but like I really did enjoy the book a lot. But before I go into my overall thoughts, I'll let Sammy go ahead and talk about her overall thoughts on the movie. And yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so this was really the one that kind of, I don't want to say started it all because I had seen Sorcerer's Stone and Chamber of Secrets before this, but when this movie was coming out, I just remember like constantly seeing it everywhere and being kind of Harry Potter all the time. And that's what really motivated me to go back and watch them, and then that's when I watched the third and the fourth films and started reading the books as well.
Right.
And started getting like super into it, because the first movie I saw in theaters was Half-Blood Prince. I didn't see a movie in theaters until then, but it was like the build up to this one. Like it was the time in between this one coming out and Half-Blood Prince that my Harry Potter like peak really happened. So again, I have such fond memories with them. This is kind of like my kind of baseline, I guess, when I think about Harry Potter. It's kind of the aesthetic and the look of the characters in this film. Like when I just think of Harry, Ron, and Hermione, for some reason it's them in this movie is my very first thing. That's just basic them to me. And I feel like a lot of that is because one of the things I love, because this is one of my favorite films in the series as well. And I really love it because it's much more, I feel like, of a character deep dive than the other movies, where it's much more about like what's going on with Harry and how is Harry doing in all of this versus all the things that are happening to Harry. It's like, oh, he's a person here. He's been affected by all of this. Let's take time to really dive into him, which diving into that, which then, spoiler alert, it's because he has half part of his soul is that of Lord Voldemort. So when you dive into that, you get all that darkness. And that's, I think, I also think what you said, Adam, that this is really the beginning of like, we're going dark now. This is it. Like, this is how it's going to be now. And again, I think it's because for Harry as well, this is where he understands that I'm going to have to kill him or he's going to have to kill me. And in tone, you feel that as well. So again, this is one of my favorites. And again, it's the like basic Harry Potter for me is Order of the Phoenix. And yeah, I hate Umbridge. We'll talk about it. It's the worst.
I've never wanted to punch a lady in the face so much.
You literally talk to any single person who's read Harry Potter, who knows Harry Potter, and they're just like, Umbridge. Like it's insane. There's this, once you read her or watch her, you're like, oh my god. Just the war, like a little bit more than Voldemort. You hate her a little bit more than you hate Voldemort.
Oh, I don't even hate Voldemort. I think his character is really cool.
Right.
Umbridge.
Right.
And that actress really brought her to life. Like just the way she goes. It's like, shut up. Nobody asked you. Go away.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. No, literally. Oh, I always hated, the number one thing I always hated so much is when she tries to dismiss Professor Trelawney. And I'm just like, like
you just want to stab her hand with a fork.
Yeah. Oh, you just want to be like, again, you want to stab her hand with a fork. Exactly.
It's like, I'm not a violent person, but I am when I watch this movie.
But this is making me angry. Yeah.
Yeah. So, for myself, so as far as my research tells me, I mean, I'm pretty sure like David Yates didn't have like a lot on his resume before this film, which really surprises me. But on the same hand, on the same hand, it really doesn't though, because because like I feel like in the beginning of this movie, it kind of starts out with like an indie movie type feel a little bit. Like it's different, like in tone, very much so at the very beginning, and I feel like it kind of has this like very original kind of tone to it. But that said, my overall thoughts on this movie, I mean, this has been quite a journey, going through these again and kind of rediscovering them in a new way. I mean, just really trying to analyze them. And, I mean, Azkaban, took my number one spot, you know what I mean? And like that was a big deal because like that was always like one of the lowest on my list. Right. And I know Samee was really happy about that, but
I know, which was a big win for me.
Yeah. That said, Samee, I'm so sorry. This is the best one that we've talked about so far. Okay. I'm sorry to tell you. I tried to I was like really looking for like, not looking to hate this movie or anything, but like I was really trying to find like a lot of flaws in this, and there's really not many to me. Like even the thing that Adam was saying about the pacing in the beginning of this one, I find the pacing to be far improved in the beginning over Goblet of Fire. Like I think over Goblet of Fire, not Azkaban. I mean, Azkaban's like a really close second still, don't get me wrong, but I still think that this one it took it over the top, and I don't think that's any fault of like Alfonso Cuarón's, that this one is just a little bit better. It's just like this story lends itself to be a great movie. movie. You know what I mean? So I think that's where a lot of that comes from. It has a good story, and I think that David Yates, what he did so brilliantly is he took like a little bit of every filmmaker that came before him and then just, you know, put it into this movie. Like he studied, you could tell what everybody did beforehand and puts it into this film. It's wonderfully toned. I think it is like, I think Adam was pretty much saying this, like it is what sets the tone for the rest of the series, and a lot of that is because obviously David Yates, you know what I mean, like directs the rest of the series, but still it's like he even takes like a lot of like of Columbus. He takes a little bit out of Columbus's book even, and Alfonso's book, and a little bit out of Mike Newell's book, and he just tried to find the right tone, like, and it was like, it wasn't until this movie that it's like, okay, now we found the perfect tone that works.
And there's a reason why there hasn't been a new Harry Potter director since.
Right, exactly.
There's a reason.
I think there should be now, but that's a podcast for another time.
Well, the rest of these movies,
a few weeks from now,
are like, from Order of Phoenix on, the rest of the movies I have always felt are impressively consistent. Like, impressively consistent.
Yes.
It almost feels like they shot and filmed them all at the same time with the same crew. They all just feel so cohesive.
Yes.
But remember, you were talking about, Dom, with Goblet of Fire, how it just felt totally different. And that was part of what you were unsure about it, was that it, like, you don't get some of the mysterious nuances of the earlier ones, like riding the train to Hogwarts and all that sort of stuff. And the way that the movie started out was really different, whereas this one, like you said, it's kind of a combination of a lot of the previous movies, in that when we start out this movie, we kind of get a mixture. There's something that's going on that's kind of dramatic, which kind of borrows from the fourth one that starts out a little differently. But then we are back at his aunt and uncle's house, and for a second it feels like we're in the first couple movies again. Yeah. And then we do get to ride the train, and we get to go through all of that again, but the tone is drastically different. So you have the moments of the first two or three, but you have the tone of the fourth one. And this movie, it takes all of the elements of the first three that really built the universe, but it takes the tone of the fourth one and slaps it over it and even darkens it a little bit more. So you get this perfect combination, and I don't know, it's fantastic.
It's almost like it was a result, and I don't know if this is true or not, but it's almost like it's a result of somebody going back, watching, you know, like all the movies and not actually enjoying them, and thinking like, how can I make this work? You know, how can I make it work the way I would like to see it? That's how it almost feels. It's like he takes all the flaws of the first three directors that have touched it and then just like fixed them. You know what I mean? In my opinion, that's how it felt watching this. I just think it played incredibly smooth. And yeah, Adam, you're right. It's a big book, and there's a lot to throw into it, but I just don't feel like it was done poorly at all. Like, I think that he figured out a way to. He struck a tone that like works, or in a pace that works. Like, it's really interesting that he was able to do that here.
How long is this movie?
I think it's like 220, somewhere in that range.
I feel like.
Which is a credit to put, I mean, like an over 600-page book into 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Yes, this book is absolutely massive. And, you know, like you're saying, for how big this book is, and probably how much screen time they had to use for this, nobody could have done it better. Nobody could have done it better. The fact of the matter is, the only way to improve this movie would have been for the producers to say, okay, create a really long one, or okay, we'll greenlight you for 2 parts. That's the only way this could have gotten better.
I agree.
And even without that, it's a tremendous movie. But if there was one movie out of the entire series that I wish were a 3.5 hour like Snyder cut, like this movie would be it. I would sit down and watch this for 3 to 4 hours. 100%.
I would, but I almost
have to agree. I think I have to agree with you. I would like a 4-hour version of this movie.
Interesting.
I'm just thinking of all the things from the book, and I mean, just it's worth it. because there's so much more like with Umbridge you can dive into. There's so much more with,
Right.
I mean, we'll get to it, but some of my favorite stuff with Snape and the occlumency lessons and going back into his backstory. And there's so much more with the Department of Mysteries. There's so much
Right.
more, but with that Dumbledore and Harry conversation at the end, like
Well, think about
so
what they
much.
did with the Deathly Hallows. They could have done this if they really wanted to. They could have tried to squeeze Deathly Hallows into one long part. And it probably would have had more of a tone similar to this movie. It still would have been a good movie.
Right.
But because they broke it into two, it gave it a completely different feel and you got this whole
Yes.
new respect. And the thing that they did with that was Deathly Hallows Part 1 was kind of a slow paced, very it explained a lot. The pacing didn't feel like there were many jumps. You really felt like you were living with them. And it was really drawn out. And I think that was very important for telling that story.
Right.
And then the second one, they literally, it's like as soon as the second one starts, they're slapping you in the face back and forth. They're like, action. Like they're just hitting you with stuff. And I feel like I would have loved to get that with this movie, would have made it even better, because building the first half of this story with like the first half of this book where you're building with Umbridge and the lessons with Snape, like you were talking about, and all of that, the first couple hours of this movie would probably be a fairly slow and frustrating process, because obviously Umbridge is very frustrating. So you're going to be extremely frustrated in the first part of the movie. But to me, the final act of this film is one of the best final acts of the entire series. I just looked over at Megan and I was like, I can't help but to say that this is my favorite scene in the entire series.
Right.
I'm gonna have to watch Deathly Hallows Part 2 again, because I've always put that on a pedestal. But watching this again, that final scene, like, oh my gosh. So that's what makes me say I could watch 2 straight hours or more of Professor Umbridge just to get that payoff at the end. It would make it so worth it.
Yeah. One thing I'll say is I disagree in the sense that I still think Goblet of Fire, if I had to pick one to get an extended cut, I would say it's still Goblet of Fire. But I mean that as a compliment to this movie, because I think that this movie is just so fine how it is. As supposed to like Goblet of Fire, I feel like needs an extended version. Like, I don't know why that is. It's just because I felt like it was just much more jumpy than this film. I think that this is the film that's like, it just works how it is so well. And I mean, I'll do you one better. I actually personally, I find this movie to be better than its book. I know that that's going to be really unpopular, but this is the one movie in the series so far.
Hot take.
100%. And I'll tell you, like, part of it is the third act, because of the way that it's like done so well. I remember even sitting in the theater and going, I never imagined it to look this good or be this intense, or you know what I mean? So I never imagined it to like be pulled off that well, even when I was reading it in the book. So like, to me, it just felt more intense watching it on film, that third act. And I think that that's a lot of what makes it, for sure.
I'll tell you this. So if we rewound time and we were like, okay, we're going to extend Goblet of Fire, I would be like, hell yeah, let's do it. It'll make that movie even better. It'll make it way better. But still, if I could only choose one, I still would choose this movie. And I say that because I don't feel like the Goblet of Fire storyline is as important to the big picture as the storyline of this movie. Because the Goblet of Fire was a lot about the games and stuff, which is very cool. And I would love an extension of that. But we're not really in the thick of, Voldemort and his plan and stuff like that.
Sure.
This one, you're so waist deep in turmoil with Harry and with what's going on with Voldemort and, with the Ministry of Magic taking over the school. This movie is so incredibly important, the storyline, for the rest of the series. So I would definitely agree. I would love to see an extended version of number 4. But I would choose, that's just my reasoning for why I would choose this one. But I see why you would want an extended version of the 4th one.
Yeah, no,
I do say that though. Yeah, I do say that though, being I do think an extended, because the only other one I would, I guess, want a more extended version of, other than Deathly Hallows, which I stay by. I love Part 1 and Part 2, so I wouldn't change that. But I would love more Half-Blood Prince. There is like a lot of Voldemort backstory that I could cut out some of the team romance to add in some more Voldemort backstory, but we'll talk about that.
Sure.
I can't wait to watch
time.
that one because I remember that one probably the least. Every time I watch Harry Potter, literally every time, I always have to ask somebody, now what was Half-Blood Prince about again? I don't know why.
Right.
Yeah.
Fair.
So diving into the beginning, I mean, you get the introduction, we get the classic Warner Brothers logo and all that, and you know the Harry Potter.
Even darker.
Yeah, and who does the score for this one? I always forget to look that up beforehand. I guess I could check it on my phone, but
yeah.
Let's see here really quick.
Alexander.
Oh yeah, Alexander Desplat did the score for that one. This one, I'm pretty
Love
sure. Yeah,
Alexander
he's
Desplat.
great. He's great. He's great.
I'm pretty sure he does the score for the rest of the series.
Yeah, I think so.
I think you're right. He definitely did Deathly Hallows.
Definitely did Deathly Hallows. Right. Yeah. No, but this score is
he did Twilight New Moon, which is one of my favorite movie scores of all time.
Yeah, it's really good. I love how every time we get one of these intros, the score seems ever so slightly remixed. You know what I mean, just to fit the tone of the movie that we're going to be watching in the beginning.
Nicholas Hooper.
Oh yes, that's right. I forgot he did one. That's right. So this one is Nicholas Hooper. Either way, he did great in the beginning of the movie. Like it's a remix version of the Hedwig's theme, and it sounds really really good. And I think it's probably one of my favorite renditions of it. Honestly, like John Williams' original is obviously the best, but like this one, it's a really cool rendition. Definitely fits the tone of the film, and I love the like panoramic shots of the field, not the cornfields, but like the fields and like all that kind of stuff. I just thought that was a really cool choice. So we're getting, this movie's just like ever so unique. I just found the tone to be almost like, I'm trying to think. There's a darkness hovering over this film, like from the second it starts. Like even in the conversations that Dudley and Harry are having, really great to see Dudley again in one of these. By the way, like I mean that genuinely, because I think he always adds like a little bit of that extra something to it, and I think
looking like a teen punk too.
Really, yeah,
real teen punk. He's got a crew.
Like he's got his crew.
He got a chain on.
100%.
Yeah.
He's described as like a gangster in the book. So I mean, yeah, it made sense to me.
Dude, listen to one NWA album.
We honestly, I know that it's like a part of the whole thing and it's provoking Harry and everything. But this is such a thing in movies where people make fun of orphans for being orphans. Like, what? That's the most ridiculous thing I can imagine a kid making fun of another kid for. Like, haha, your parents are dead.
Well,
like,
your mommy and daddy.
It's so dark.
Like, I can't believe how many movies and stuff, like, they just go there.
Yeah,
like,
it's true.
I've never in my life have I, like, saw an orphan and been like, ha ha ha, your parents are dead. Like,
yeah.
Oh my God.
And like over this like thing that could have just come off like a real hokey trope, you know what I mean? Like again, there's something about it again that just, it's a dark, like something dark is like lurking over them already. And I know obviously, we get the Dementors coming in and everything, but it's just I really like that about it. And Harry pulls out his wand, and like going up to him, I was like, oh shit, it's going down. And then the Dementors start coming and like the clouds coming. I love the shots. It's shot so beautifully. And then when they're running down, and it's like, it's not necessarily like a shaky cam. I can't think of how to describe it. It's like, but it is kind of shaky.
I wanted to mention that because I love that shot.
Yeah.
It's a good shot.
Kind of like,
yeah.
It's like a perspective shot almost, but like a disoriented.
Yeah,
it feels like somebody is running, literally running with the camera with them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, it's not even just with them, it's like kind of above them too. Like I don't know how he pulled off that shot, but it looks great. And
the editing in this film and the camera work is just remarkable, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, I like the look of the tunnel. It looks like, well, it's Little Whinging, you know what I mean? But we're really starting to see like a town that like looks like a town that you would see in, the UK and things like that. And I just really love that about it. And so when then we get I can't remember the lady's name, but she cracks me up. Mrs. Fig.
Yes,
Mrs. Fig, yeah.
Oh, I can
so Mrs. Fig comes in.
You're correct.
And I like, seeing the Expecto Patronum, come back around, obviously, too. That's another thing I really enjoy. And then, so Mrs. Fig, takes him back over to the Dursleys, which is really cool. And I love that. I mean, I love seeing Uncle Vernon again. I like that he's got a spoon just shoved in his mouth when
they're like all sweaty and like
He's looking particularly round in this film.
He is.
I agree.
He is.
I don't know whether it's the angle they shot it from, but I was watching it and I was like, he looks actually round. Like his body shape looks like it's changed.
Yeah, he does look like he. No offense, he does look like he gained weight, and I don't know if that was like something the actor did, but I don't know. He did look larger. But yeah, he has a spoon in his mouth. But again, I hate to say it, but it is so good to see the Dursleys again. I felt like I've been missing them, and so it was great to see them either way.
Because they're not in Goblet of Fire at all. That's insane.
Yeah.
You were missing them. Harry was not.
No, evidently not. No, and so he goes and. So Harry's obviously upset because he gets that letter from Hogwarts or the Ministry, I think, and Millicent Bulstrode, right? And then who sends the letter, and so am I wrong about that? I don't know. Either way, so
they really kick you off at the very beginning of the movie with that letter, don't they?
Yeah, it's definitely not that name.
What's her name? I can't remember.
Oh man, it's from the Ministry. It's something like
I couldn't tell you.
I couldn't tell you either. It's from the Ministry.
I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's not a big deal.
That's the important thing.
Not a big deal, but I know that this character is definitely brought up in the books multiple times, so that's why I was trying to remember. But anyway, moving into the film.
It wasn't Cornelius Fudge. It didn't say by Cornelius Fudge. I don't remember.
I thought it was Millicent Bulstrode. I don't know.
No, Millicent Bulstrode is the is the girl that Hermione takes the cat hair from in Chamber of Secrets.
Right.
I'm laughing. I'm like, I hate myself.
Definitely not her.
Why does that live in my brain? I don't know.
I don't know. Weird. It's cool though.
But that's yep.
Oh, you know, I remember that name in my mind. Yeah, I remember that name in my mind too because McGonagall calls her name in the Sorting Hat scene, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, as well.
Probably.
I think so. I think we see her in that scene. But either way, so we move into crap. What are we doing here? So yeah, we're at the Dursleys, right? Sorry.
Yes.
I always lose my train of thought.
Turned out.
Yeah.
And then the
cool.
Whoa.
Continue. I'll try to fix that. I don't know.
Okay. So yeah,
I believe after that he goes up to his room.
Well, he goes up to his room and he has his little tantrum or whatever. He's not thrilled about what's going on, obviously, and then
that's when
he goes to sleep. This is the first time I think they've utilized like an actual like flashback to another movie, you know, like in one of these, like where because he has the dream about Cedric's death. I don't think we've ever seen like that before, where it's flashing back to another one of the films, which is actually used multiple times in this one. I thought it was just really clever, especially the placement of them. I thought was really clever, and so. So then Mad Eye obviously comes in with Tonks and who's the other the
oh my god, what's his name?
gentleman.
Oh my god, I know his name. Oh my god, Kingsley Shacklebolt is his name.
Kingsley, right, yeah. So comes in with Tonks and Kingsley.
I'm glad you remember this stuff because
I know I had to take a second. That was a little tough.
So he's
with Tonks. Yes.
Yeah, this is why I have Samee on because I know she's gonna know the names.
Again, why does this live in my brain?
It's all right.
Of all the things.
In case you have a game of
literally
Harry Potter Trivial Pursuit.
Right.
Oh my god, I literally will play anybody anytime at Harry Potter Trivia.
I'm sure
that
you'd
is an
win.
open invitation.
I don't want to play with you because I'm sure you'd win.
How I Met Your Mother is my game.
Ooh, I could hang. I could hang too. I could hang. Yeah. I don't know if I'd win, but like I could hang.
Anyway,
I'd be fun to play with enough.
So this is our first kind of introduction to part of the order, you know, which is pretty cool, and I really enjoy that. So then we, the broom scene is one of my gripes for sure with this film. I just find it to be overly campy at times, the broom scene, but it looks great. Don't get me wrong, like visually it all looks great. I just think the tone of it's like, it gets a little campy from time to time, but...
You're campy.
Sorry, man. I think it's a little over the top.
Your face is campy.
It's not the look of it; it's just the tone of it. I thought it was a little campy, but for the film. But anyway, so then we get into I forgot what the house is called again. It's
a 12 Grimold Place.
12 Grimold Place. We go to 12 Grimold Place. See, this is why I have her on. I'm telling you. And
gotcha.
I love this how the house expands. Like I think that's just awesome. I mean, Harry again just continuously impressed with magic, and every filmmaker had utilized that, seeing it through Harry's eyes, and it's part of what's make the franchise work so well. And then we go in there, and then he's I I love the thing with the ear. Ear always makes me laugh when they're lowering the ear over to try to hear what everybody's saying. But most importantly here, we hear Sirius Black again. We see Sirius Black again in the house, and I love seeing Gary Oldman back as this character again. I telling him my favorite character in the franchise, and was so happy about that. And then they get into they get in there. Not only is Sirius here, Lupin's there. It's like a Harry Potter reunion. This Order of the Phoenix here, and it's really cool to see. So then they're all talking, and I love them telling Harry about what's going on, or Sirius is really the one telling Harry everything that's going on. And I like when Miss Weasley gets mad and then Sirius gives him the little wink and the nod, and I thought that was really really cool. And I like Harry's kind of sort of determination to join the fight too, and I think Daniel Radcliffe just plays that very very well in this film. Daniel Radcliffe's performance in this one is just top-notch stuff. He's
maybe
so good throughout the film.
Maybe his best performance is Harry Potter, honestly. There's
so
a
good.
strong argument to say this is his best performance.
I'm gonna have to wait to make that call.
Yeah.
So far, absolutely.
There's a strong case for it, for sure.
I'm trying to think of one that I thought was better, and you're right. I think that there is a really strong case for it. He's good in a lot of stuff, but
that scene at the end, man, I just you already know what I'm talking about.
We'll get into it. We'll get into that for sure, because that needs to be commended for sure. Quite a few different moments actually in the film now that I'm thinking about it, but so it's just really cool to have the Potter reunion here in this moment. But Adam, what do you think of the scene? I'm gonna go use the bathroom really quick. So
so while Dom goes and takes a huge deuce,
absolutely, see you in 35 minutes.
Take note of that. That's what he's doing.
That's what he's doing 100%. He's not doing anything else. He tells lies, and one should not tell lies.
He does. One should not tell lies.
Tell lies, exactly. Ridiculous.
From the start of this movie, I really like the tone from the very start. It just feels so, I don't know, it just feels so special, feels so cool. Like we mentioned before, I love the beginning of the movie where you kind of get it starting off with a little bit of drama, kind of like the fourth one, but then you get to see Uncle Vernon, and you get to go back to their house again, so you kind of have familiar territory, kind of reminding you of the first couple ones. And and then they got going to headquarters and everything. I like the broom ride. I think it's cool.
Me too.
I like as Harry's kind of smiling as he's going along because he's enjoying it.
He knows it's cool.
He does.
Yeah.
I like all the cool people in one place. I mean, even Snape's there. Everybody's there. The whole crew is there.
Yeah. Honestly, all of the best characters are in one spot.
Really, though.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. But everything about the beginning of the movie, man, and I just, you're talking a little about the, how the environment of the movie looks really cool, and the coloring and everything. It's like, I really feel like this movie, you feel from the very start that everybody was kind of showing off when they were making this movie. It honestly feels like that. Like, I feel like there are moments throughout this movie where I feel like whoever was doing the set design, they were just showing off. The visual effects artists, they were showing off. Sound effects artists, they were showing off. The cinematographer showing off. Color graders showing off. Everybody's just doing their thing in this movie. And you get that from the very beginning. And it sets this perfect tone that continues for the rest of the movie. So the beginning is a hit to me. I love the beginning of this movie.
Hell yeah. No, I could totally agree. It definitely does. I really feel like it's because they're at a point where this is their fifth movie. Everybody is very comfortable in their roles, in their jobs. They all really understand the tone and everything. So now they're at a point where they understand it. So now they can play around, they can experiment, they can do different things. And it's incredible. I completely agree. The way that I think magic is used in this film is so unique, and it continues for the rest of the series. It becomes the standard for the Harry Potter series. after this, just as a good example.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, because it's beautiful. Exactly.
And I think the sound effects changed. I think I
think
watched
you're
a
right.
short little documentary where they were talking about how they not only did they change the visuals of some of the spells, but they changed the sound effects around them. And Order of the Phoenix specifically, I think things just really start to get more intense, and the sound effects are a huge part of that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, I also really love the beginning of this movie. It's again, what I love so much about the whole movie is that we're really diving deep into Harry's perspective and taking a look at what's happening to Harry inwardly versus all the things that happen to Harry, and like diving into his mind, so that way when we like go forward with him, we truly understand the state that he's in. And like you get that from the get-go, and you get that from when Dudley's tormenting him. He's just like a little bit more aggressive toward him. He's just a little bit more like stay back, Dudley, you know. And
he's been through some stuff at this point.
Exactly. He's
I mean, he watched somebody die.
Right. Yes, exactly. He's at the point where he's like, this kid tormenting me is like I don't have to put up with this anymore.
Right.
Like I'm gonna be, if I want to be angry at him, I'm gonna be angry at him. I'm not just gonna sit here and take Dudley's crap like I used to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, but that's how he is the whole time. And like the one big criticism I hear about this movie is like the angsty Harry one, the one where Harry's angsty the whole time.
I like that.
But again, it's because he literally watched one of his friends die right in front of him.
You'd be angsty too. Like,
he
what the
watched,
heck, dude?
Exactly. The man who killed his parents and will start doom and war has returned before his eyes, tried to fight him. There's like, and now he has to just go back and live with his, you know, shitty aunt and uncle all summer. Like, he's not in the best place.
Seriously.
He's a little upset. And he literally has a part of the Dark Lord inside of him that lives in his brain. Like, I'm always like,
angsty isn't even a word I would describe him as.
Yeah.
Like, angsty, no, this isn't an angsty teen movie.
Saying.
Like, we're talking about, look, if you freaking your parents died when you were a baby and the same person that killed them tried to kill you and now he's coming back, you watched a friend of yours die, you touch a trophy and next thing you know you're in a freaking graveyard. Right. And there's this dude who resembles Satan quite similarly, and now he's in front of your face, and he's talking crap about your parents. Like, he kills your friend, and now you got this douche that's bullying you while you're just trying to swing. Angsty, that's not the word for it. You can't talk to your
friends. Like, all your friends are miles away.
And nobody understands anyway, because nobody gets what he's going through. Like, no, angsty.
And that's the tea.
Yeah. So
that tea.
Are we still in the same spot, or did we move forward any, or do I need to just keep going? We're in the same spot.
Yeah, I just gave my thoughts about we're in the same spot.
Okay, cool. All right, so the next thing that comes up is obviously like the trial. I really like the phone booth thing, you know, him and Mr. Weasley going down the phone booth, and I love when he's trying to, they use their like little key card thing, and he can't figure it out, or he can't get past it. Right, and then Harry just like pulls out the key card and he's just like, you know, and then he puts it in, and Mr. Weasley's so fascinated. He's like, love it. Love him. Love him.
Good.
Mr. Weasley's great. So when
it's great. It's just to our world to Mr. Weasley is his world to us. So he's just like, whoa, what was that?
He's so fascinated by the Muggle way, but yeah, so then they go through it. I love seeing the Ministry, like, too. It's
cool.
It is amazing. And it almost surprises me that, like, I understand Harry was in a bad place, but it almost surprises me that we didn't see his fascinated look by the Ministry, too. You know what I mean? Because
just being like,
he's never been there before, you know? It's huge. It's like, and there's all these, like, different hallways. I love the black in the hallways, too.
Oh, my God.
There's, like, the papers flying around like birds.
And the freaking, like, green fire. People are coming, and oh my gosh, I was telling Sammy that this movie feels from the very start like the people who created this movie were just showing off. Like, the set designers were showing off, the visual effects artists were showing off, the cinematographers, everybody was just doing their thing.
Yeah, it's just it feels like it's on a. It's funny because like I was talking about at the beginning, almost feels like it opens like an indie film, but like it just I feel like of all of them, this one has like the biggest. It's the biggest scale of all of them. You know what I mean? It feels like everything's on a much larger scale once we dive into it. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. This movie's so visually good, and yeah, you're right. The set design is. It does.
It does. It does.
The visuals do hold up. The other ones, you know, we definitely had some wonky visual things in the others, and I feel like this one definitely aged the best.
This David Yates kind of style of Harry Potter with all of that aesthetic has became the standard. It never changed after that because everybody agreed that they were like, yeah, that's perfect. That's exactly what we want.
It's like, okay, we got it right now. You know what I mean? Now we know what to do. Exactly. It's like, and obviously, like, I mean, this film was done on digital. Like, don't tell me this was shot with film. I'd be very surprised if this was shot with film. This was done digitally.
Let's look it up just to see.
Yeah, check it out.
I would be surprised too.
I think Goblet was as well. I think Goblet was probably the first digital one because I'm sure Alfonso used film at the time. I'm sure Alfonso, especially at the time, used film.
Yes, I think the first two used film.
I think so. They would have. They would have at that time. They would have at that time
thinking.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And Alfonso, I feel like you're right.
Yeah, and I love the look of film better. Like I do prefer film, genuinely, but like still, this one is like you were saying, Sammy. This is kind of like it seems to have set the standard of like the CGI look that we would use for the rest of time. You know what I mean, or that mixture of CGI and practical effects that you know some of the best visual movies have used in this day and age. Anyway, so. Yeah, it looks great. It holds up so well. It doesn't look very dated at all. And oh my gosh, and let's not even. I forgot to mention like all the wizards coming through the fireplaces with the green. Like they're using like the flue powder. Yeah. That's kind of like a reintroduction to that. So that's really cool. It's like, can you imagine if that's all you had to do to get to work is just throw some flue powder in a fireplace and
so cool.
You're there. It's awesome. It's awesome.
I think it was digital.
Pretty sure
it was shot with it says what camera it was. It's an RE camera. I'm assuming that it's digital, but it doesn't state. It does say that the third one was shot on film though.
Yeah.
Nice.
Excuse me. So, it had to be shot.
Makes sense.
To be shot in digital. If I had to guess, but anyway.
Yeah.
So, the trial is like. His hearing, I guess, is like really a wonderful scene. I thought this was one of the things that was adapted so well from the book. Like it just plays really well. Our first introduction to the pain in the ass Umbridge, and boy, I was hoping they casted somebody who would get under my skin, and boy did they. I mean, she gets under my skin. And
I just real quick, Imelda Staunton. I love her, and she's gonna be playing Queen Elizabeth in the last two seasons of The Crown. And I'm like, I low-key love that they kind of made Umbridge Elizabeth II because like they have to know that we're gonna have that vibe.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's part of it. Like they're gonna be very aware that the Queen has that vibe, and I'm just
that's definitely helped her resume.
Sure did. Oh my gosh. Sure did.
I mean, she played the crap out of this character.
Oh yeah.
A whole generation like just knows her. Like if they saw her on the street, they'd be like Umbridge. Like it's insane.
Yeah, she's so good in the movie in that sense. Like she knows how to get under your skin, and so the hearing is great. I like Dumbledore walking in. I think that they definitely like played into his sort of like. He's upset. Dumbledore's upset in this movie, and I think it's really interesting. It's a way we've never seen Dumbledore, and I think Michael Gambon just plays it very well. I like how Harry's like trying to call him after the thing. Professor Dumbledore, and he just walks by him and ignores him. It's like, oh my gosh. You really
and
feel
they thought
that.
they were slick changing the hearing time. They thought they were slick.
Oh yeah.
Nope. Dumbledore was like, I just happened to arrive 3 hours early.
He was like, good thing I was here 3 hours early. He was like, I know you people. He literally shows up like, some of the laws you're protecting, I wrote them. I know your games. I invented your games, people.
Yeah.
I'm in your head.
Don't even try to play Dumbledore. Don't even try.
Yeah,
he invented the game you're trying to play.
For sure. I like the I mean, obviously, I love, the platform 9 3/4 scene. I like seeing that kind of come back too when they're walking through, and then I like how Sirius shows up as the dog, and they kind of sneaks in, and Harry's like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "I had to see you off." I just love this scene so much, and then Harry asking him if, well, this is the first time we get the setup for Neville's parents as well in the picture, which is cool. So finally, we're getting some backstory for the Neville character here, which is huge in the books. Huge in the books. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a big movie for Neville as well, which I love because in the books it's made very clear that like Harry and Neville's stories are actually not that different.
No.
And their characters are actually they're more similar than they are different. And like, this is such a big book for Harry. And I love that it's also such a big movie, big story for Neville as well.
Well, it kind of dives into the fact that like, I think like the chosen one could have been either or, like Harry or Neville in the book, which they don't touch on as much here, but it kind of hints at it, which I like in a very ambiguous way in the film, at least. So I enjoyed that touch to it. And then I like, one of my favorite lines in the whole movie is when Harry asks Sirius, "Do you think there's going to be a war?" And he says, "It feels like it did before." I thought that line was just so good. And then they go onto the train. I don't think there's a lot that happens on the train here, if I'm not mistaken. I know that when they get off the train, Malfoy kind of starts to bully Harry a little bit, and then Harry's ready. He's comes at him. He's like, yeah, so he's ready to go.
Don't F with Harry this year. He's going through a lot. This is not the time, Malfoy. It was like, Malfoy, Harry's going through so much. This is not the time for you to be adding to this.
You about to catch these hands.
You about to catch these hands.
You about to catch this wand.
You about to catch these wands.
Dude, I saw a post on Facebook. I almost tagged you in it. Someone said, we watched Harry Potter and accidentally downloaded subtitles for it that had replaced every word wand was replaced with the word penis.
Oh,
and there were screenshots, and it was hilarious. I was dying.
Oh my god, I could like in Chamber of Secrets, they're like, "Ron, you've broken your wand."
Yes. Or when Hermione's like, "Harry, your wand. He's like, "Harry, your penis. And there was one that was like shot red sparks out the tip of his penis. Like, oh no.
The penis chooses the
That's
wizard.
what I was going to say. The wizard doesn't choose the penis. The penis chooses the wizard.
So excellent. I need to download those subtitles.
That's good. That's great.
Really funny.
That's great. But they... Yeah, so Harry's not, he's not getting messed with this year, and I even like in the common room we get the Seamus scene, where Seamus is like, "Mom didn't want me to come back this year."
Harry this year,
and Harry was like coming at him too. He called him his stupid mother, and I'm like, holy shit, I love that. Great stuff.
Harry coming out with your mama jokes.
He's going through a lot.
Fully loaded, dude.
Yeah.
He's not here for your games.
Yeah,
not here.
I don't blame him though. I mean, I would be pretty ticked off too.
Yeah.
Anyway, what do you guys think of all that, Adam?
This whole section of the movie, I really enjoy. Like we said, at the Ministry with the whole the set design and the freaking green fire as all the wizards are coming into the Ministry. It's like so cool looking. Seeing Umbridge for the first time just makes me scowl. As soon as I see her in the crowd, I'm just like, I have never wanted to slash a woman's tires before until now. I want to make sure her tires are flat every time she tries to go to work in the morning, even though she probably rides a broom.
Break the broom.
Definitely a witch.
Yeah.
That courtroom scene, it's so frustrating because you can tell like they're really working against them. Like they're really trying their hard. They're changing the time of the hearing. Like they're being totally unreasonable. Like what's he supposed to do? Like sit there and die as a freaking they're sucking his face off. They're sucking his soul, and they're like, nope, you can't use magic. And Dumbledore's like, yeah, but it states that you can use it in the presence of Muggles if it's necessary for self-defense. And he's like, rules can be changed.
Yeah.
Really? Like, you want people to not protect themselves? Like, you hate him that much?
Yeah.
It's so frustrating. Fudge is
and it's so weird because like you get Fudge in the third movie who's like, oh, you use magic, no big deal, you know what I mean? And then here he's like, he's pissed off about it. It's like he definitely plays things by circumstance, that's for sure. He's definitely it's
literally go ahead. It's literally just because like the minister believes one, Fudge believes one thing, and Harry's saying another thing, and if he gives Harry more power, then he will be more discredited. Like, that's insane. Like, that's literally it. Like, this, I mean, literally a politician is just trying to discredit this kid solely because he will then have a little bit less power, or he'll have to admit
he's
that
got
he's
little
wrong.
man syndrome.
Exactly. He'd rather discredit this child and like put him in danger than admit that he's wrong.
Yeah, I mean, did you guys feel like the political situation hit a little close to home with everything we deal with in our real life right now? Because this time around, I feel like it kind of shed new light on it. This time around, because like the stuff we deal with in real life, I feel like is very similar to what's going on now in our real world. So I mean, I think that's part of what makes this movie so timeless too, for sure. But anyway, Sammy, did you have anything else you wanted to add? I feel like I kind of stuck in your opinion there.
No, not much. Again, I also really love the whole kind of the Dumbledore being aloof throughout, because it is like so heartbreaking. Especially in the book, at least, it makes it very much more clear that Dumbledore knew that these bad things were happening to Harry, but felt like if he intervened too much, it would be like it would be too much imposing. He wanted Harry to kind of figure it out on his own, and then by the end of the book he realizes that was the absolutely wrong thing to do, and that's why all of Half-Blood Prince he spent trying to be closer to Harry. But I do love that throughout you really do feel it. You feel you just feel like it's like Dumbledore, like there's so much more that he knows and it's just so much more frustrating for Harry to know that.
Dumbledore's doing the bare minimum this year, that's for sure. Like that he needs to do in order just
and
to
Harry's
get by.
Like, exactly. And Harry's like, I'm struggling more than ever. What the hell, dude? The whole time.
Yeah, really.
Dumbledore got his medical marijuana card, and he was like, I'm coasting this year, guys.
Really
every day is 420 up in this castle.
100%. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So the other thing, I mean, after this we start to get into the dark arts class with Umbridge, which is even more irritating, obviously, because I mean, Harry still is just coming after. He's like, if we're not going to learn these spells, how are we supposed to defend ourselves against Voldemort? And again, this just hits so close to home with her trying to tell him, that he didn't come back, and then Harry's like, no, he's back, you know what I mean? And it's really, really crazy. I mean, it's just like we said, Harry's not taking shit, and he's going for it. And I feel like Harry's probably, in terms of the actual school year and his classes and all that, like I feel like he's probably never felt more cornered in his entire life, you know what I mean, to where he's backed into this corner. I feel it's probably the same thing with Dumbledore. Like, I feel like Harry and Dumbledore are on similar wavelengths in this movie, even though they're, separated for most of it. I just feel like they're in a similar place mentally, I'm sure. She gives him detention and he has to write the thing. I mean, this was played very well with the quill that was, burning into his skin. And it's like, I could not imagine, this being a punishment. This is terrible. And, when he goes to Ron and Hermione, obviously they feel about the same with it. And, it's just it's a whole thing, you know what I mean? And it's crazy. I mean, it's really, you feel for Harry, I think, more than ever in this movie, and a lot of that is I attribute a lot of that to the directing of the film. Obviously, I think it tones it very, very well. And then I think this is about the time that, that they even, I might be jumping ahead just a little bit, but I can't remember much between this and when they want to try to kind of start up the Order again, right? Like, I don't think that there's a whole lot that happens. Or you mean Dumbledore's Army. Dumbledore's Army, the DA, right? They try to start up the DA.
Right.
Which I can't remember a lot in between here, so I think that they because there's a scene where they
Harry, Ron, and Hermione are talking about it, and Hermione's like, we need to be able to defend ourselves, and that's when they come up with the idea. And I think that's a little bit after, right after, like when Harry
Adam has notes. What do we miss?
Has the punishment.
What do we miss?
I was gonna say I don't know if we touched on when we see Luna and when they see
Luna.
horses.
Oh my god!
Right, we forgot about the parts with Luna and
all time.
you know, the fact that
Luna.
they touch on that Hagrid's gone this year. You know, he's kind of taken an absence. We kind of forgot that, and you know, Harry's kind of letters to Sirius telling him how alone he feels and all that is really good as well. Right, Luna. You know, he meets Luna for sure, and the what do they call the things? The flying that only Harry.
I don't remember.
Right. What was it?
Thestrals.
Thestrals, yes. Because Thestrals, I'm sorry. So that's right, because we forgot about the carriage ride when only Harry can see them, you know, so that was a whole thing. So the Thestrals are, you know, in the woods, and Harry kind of meets her out there around this time, and, you know, and they have that conversation, and, you know, only people who have witnessed death are, you know, the ones that can, you know, see them. And so we get an explanation for that, which is really, really cool. I'm not a big fan of Luna Lovegood. Like, I'm just being honest. Like, I don't have, like, a personal vendetta against her or anything. I just don't see the character, like, adding a whole lot to the franchise, at least in this movie. I mean,
love Luna.
I'm glad.
I'm obsessed with Luna.
Yeah.
I feel like she at least adds a little bit.
Fan.
And because I think it's her later in the movie who talks about when she's talking about how that's probably how Voldemort wants you to feel. He wants you to retreat from your friends and stuff.
That's
and
right.
she kind of adds that. So it's because of what she says to Harry that he finally tries to reconnect with his friends and stops kind of retreating to himself. So I feel like if there's anything that she did, that was something important. I mean, she's kind of one of the few people for some reason that Harry is consistently relating to in this movie. He's kind of retreating to be by himself most of the time, and he's finding this weird sort of connection with this strange person. And even though she's really bizarre, every time they meet, she kind of says something wise in a weird sort of way. So
yeah, I feel
like what she adds to the movie.
That's fair. I just feel like the stuff she says is kind of like it could have been, I don't know, to some degree. Like, I do like the concept of the Thestrals and stuff and the way that they connect on that level. I just don't feel like I feel like a lot of her stuff could have either been done by like Ron or Hermione, like her significance, at least in book to film adaptation, I suppose. But I get why they had her here. She is a fan favorite from the book, so I understand that. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, like, I feel like if I was adapting this, if I didn't have a studio hounding me to make sure that you put the Luna Lovegood in the film, I probably wouldn't have used her. That's just me. I know, but
but we need to be introduced to her in this movie because she has a more important part later.
Right.
It would be really weird if all of a sudden
it's a good point.
We're thrown into this really strange character and she has a really important role later on.
I'm saying, like,
series.
If I didn't know the Deathly Hallows story and I was just adapting this film, I probably wouldn't have used her. That's what I'm saying. But you're right. She does come up later, and I get why she is there. I'm not saying I don't understand it. I'm just saying for this film in particular, this story, I just don't love her character. I'm not like totally in love with the character in this story in particular. That's just me. But I like her later. I like her later.
Really strange way.
I love her later. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying
she's an emotional support beam for Harry throughout this movie.
Yeah,
that's fair.
So I love Luna, and I love Luna because to me she's kind of like that. She's like a pure light energy source, kind of. She's all kind. She has that kind of childhood innocence that brings wisdom, but also the kind that brings like the maturity though of it, because she has she watched her mother die. Like, she's grown up as a child with her father and she's been through a lot, so she has that maturity though, but it's also been able to keep that kind of like whimsy to her. And so I think for Harry she represents love and light and goodness and the fact that she's been through so much and yet she's still able to have this like true kindness to her. Like, it's always been fascinating because his future daughter, her middle name, her name is Lily Luna Potter, and it's always been so she had that big of an impact on him to name his child to middle name his
Okay.
child after
Yeah.
her. And so, and to me, I think it's just because she like, because for again, it's really driven in deep into at the end of the film. But again, it's saying that the difference between the good and the light side is that the light side is able to bring in love and not, it doesn't push it out, is able
Cool.
to accept it. And I think that's what Luna represents,
Yeah.
especially for Harry.
No, I like her
She's
in
one of
the
those-
future stories a lot more for sure. You know what I mean? Like I think that she adds like really good comic relief in Half-Blood Prince, for example, and I think that she like is obviously very important to the Deathly Hallows story, and like you were saying, you know, the middle name and all that like later on, and like I think she's important later. I'm just talking this story alone. I don't think that she adds a lot to it for me. It just doesn't do a lot for me in this one. But that said, I mean, like the actress does a great job in the film, playing it very true to the book. I think they did very well there. So, anyway, Adam, you had a point. Sorry.
I was just gonna say she's kind of one of those characters that's, I mean, it's strange and subtle. It's like at first glance, I feel like she does seem pretty unimportant, pretty unimpactful,
Maybe.
just kind of silly.
Yeah.
But I think when you really examine, I find her really to be one of those invisible support beams in the later part of the movie, in unexpected places. She's one of those people that it's almost like, think about somebody that you've met in your life, that you've had a connection with, that you wouldn't necessarily say that they're your best friend, or if somebody asks you who are your best friends, you wouldn't necessarily say that that person is, but maybe it's a person that you met at a certain point in your life that you really connected with, that left a mark on you that you'll forever hold.
Yeah.
You know, they may not have, you know, all of the history with you for them to be your best friend, but for some reason this person that in the grand scheme of your life seems kind of insignificant to the timeline, popped in at the right moment and really was very important to you emotionally and left a mark.
Yeah.
And that's, I feel like that's sort of her character. She just seems like a blip on the radar, like this random person, but while she's there, to Harry, you know, to our main character, she's surprisingly important.
Yeah.
And it's easy to miss, but
yeah.
Anyway, I see what you're saying, but
yeah, no, I'm just saying book to film.
100%.
I would have cut her stuff book to film. You know what I mean? Like that's the only thing. But like I would have used her for obviously Dumbledore's army, but I wouldn't have made her like this scene right here with the Thestrals. Okay, you know, like I just felt like it was just something that was just unnecessary. Belongs in the book, maybe not the movie to me. But yeah. Anyway.
Well, also that's important for when they're in the Ministry and they see the portal and nobody else sees or hears anything coming from the portal.
Right.
And it's kind of a clue as to why he
It's a
is
good
seeing
point.
stuff coming out of the portal.
It's a good point.
There is,
yeah, that's
there's
right.
a little minute
You're right. You
here
are
and
right
there.
about that. Okay. So yeah, maybe I would have kept her then and then chopped it down. I don't know. Like there's something about this that just feels like it's thrown into the movie. This is like one of those points where the pacing gets thrown off for me. I don't know. But it's not the character, it's just the scenes with the character. You know, it's like it feels like it threw the pacing off just a little bit for me. I don't know. But again, I thought the actress did great playing the Luna character like book to film. Like she did a great job. She did a great job, yeah. So nothing against the actress or the character and the overall scheme, just in this film. But moving on from that, so we get to this is about the time we're kind of starting to set up the army and everything. You know, they all meet in the shack, and then you know Harry's clearly very against this. You know, he's faced these things on his own. He's telling everybody this, like facing this stuff in real life. This is probably not something you guys want to sign up for. I don't want to put your guys' life in danger. But then they sign up anyway, and then I love it's like a montage, right? That we get, you know, like just setting up the army. I like about, you know, we're kind of continuing the Cho Chang storyline quite a bit here. And Cho's another one I honestly would have cut out of this movie, by the way. I'm just letting you know.
I know. I'm like, oh, Cho Chang.
Yeah.
She's just like,
does.
if anyone is disposable in Harry Potter, it's Cho Chang.
I agree.
Yeah, I would have cut her out
We
of
can agree
this.
on that.
I mean, I liked her in Goblet of Fire better only because, you know, she was integral to Harry's, like, that movie was about, you know, like the coming up and like meeting girls for the first time, and I get that,
Right.
and I understand why they wanted to carry it forward here. It's just one of the things I would have cut to. I would have cut that down
Throughout
too.
the story, I always thought that she was going to end up being way more important than she was.
Right.
She was one of those characters that the moment she entered the screen, I always thought this person is probably going to be important, and then she never really ends up being that important, which is surprising. I felt like it was building towards something, and I really liked, you know, her as a person, and you know, the girl that played her did a really good job.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, I liked the character, but it just the story didn't build her to be who I feel like they were insinuating she was going to be. So I do feel like that character ended up being kind of disposable.
Yeah, I almost wonder.
That's on J.K. Rowling.
I almost wonder.
That's on you, J.K.
That's on you, Joe. That's on you. No one else.
I almost wonder if like even like the producers though in the films thought they would use her again, you know, just like in minute spots, you know, but like I just don't think that they ever like got around to it, and I think they were like, no, she clearly just doesn't work, you know, as well as you know, it does. It's another one of the things that throws out the pacing. Like the only thing I would have used her for is when she rats him out later, you know what I mean? But like other than that, I wouldn't have used her much in this film. But I get it. I get why they wanted to carry it forward, because it was kind of set in the fourth film, obviously, and she was more integral to that story in my opinion. But anyway, moving on. So I mean yeah, so the, you know, the whole montage of the army, it's all great when Harry's training them, and I love it to death. I mean, the roofer requirement, I love Malfoy and Filch trying to run to catch the door before it closes up. Anytime we get one of those like classic Filch moments, it's great. I like that he's clearly upset that Umbridge is making him hang up these signs and everything like that.
But he likes why he's doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
He does like why he's doing it.
Students feel like students are being restricted even more.
Yeah.
I love it, but God, I have to hammer another one.
We missed the part at the beginning of the school year when Dumbledore introduces her and she gets up to speak. And she talks. She goes on her spiel, and then and at the end, Filch is like,
"So funny."
Right? He's so excited. He's like, "Rules."
So happy. Rules.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Everybody, even Dumbledore's like, "Oh, she's gonna speak. Oh, okay."
Yeah, he clearly.
Filch has so many great moments in this movie.
Yeah, I'm always curious as to why like Dumbledore ever kept him on payroll in the first place. It really baffles me, because he clearly does not like kids. Like he does not like students.
Entertainment, and I think he feels a little bad for him as well.
He must.
He's like, he feels a little bad, and he's been attached so long that like if he fires him now, it would just be like it would be too tragic for him.
He's like that little old lady that's been working at your job for like 40 years, and it's like
what am I
they're
gonna do,
probably
fire
ready
her?
to stop soon, but they're just so used to being here, nobody wants to. So they just kind of give them the light work.
Yeah, they're like, you can like yell at kids who are out of bed late. Okay, that's what you can do.
Yeah,
we'll give you. That's your job.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, cool.
It's like, I will be the best at it.
I will. I swear to God, those kids will never leave their beds. I will find them.
Yeah, for sure. I think that anyway. So, the montage was great. You know, obviously we get the really sad scene along this part too, where we have Trelawney, you know, getting fired, which is amazing on Dumbledore's part.
We missed Harry having dreams.
Did we? Is it in this?
A couple dream sequences
with Mr. Weasley.
I made a note about how much I liked the little dream sequence.
That's before Trelawney?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are we sure?
I want to say maybe, yes.
I swore Trelawney came like before that. I was going to get into that next.
Yeah, because
all of this happens before Christmas. I know. I remember.
Yeah, okay, so Harry kisses Cho Chang like right around here. So that's what happens then. And then Harry
before Christmas.
Okay, so then we go into Christmas, and then you're right. Okay, yeah, you are correct actually. Sorry about that. So yeah, Harry kisses Cho Chang, you know, we get the little romantic scene. I do like the conversation afterward with Ron and Hermione. I find that to be just a really great moment between the three friends.
It was wet.
Yeah, it was wet.
Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, that was really.
She was crying.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad, but also like very like,
It's
you're
funny.
telling your friends about what just happened.
Yeah. Yeah. And Hermione just, starts laughing, and then they all just laugh for a long time. I just thought it was a good moment of levity.
Yeah.
But then
Harry's kissing was more than satisfactory.
Yeah. Then he starts
having.
having.
You have the emotional. What is it? You have the emotional capacity of a teaspoon. Range of a teaspoon.
Right. That's the line. And then we get into the dream sequence. You're right, with Mr. Weasley, and then this is obviously, this moment is amazing because then we Harry's like intensity here with the look at me, you know what I mean? And I like how it connects back later, and we find out that like Dumbledore is already entering his mind, and that is why Voldemort is already entering his mind, and they do that really well later on. I'll point that out in the moment, but because when Harry yells that, it's like Jesus Christ. But then
also, I don't think it's happened a lot earlier, but when Harry's dreaming and he's imagining platform 9 3/4 and he sees Voldemort there, and it's Voldemort like in a suit, just standing on the platform, that I always thought was like the scariest but coolest way they could have ever done that.
I just chose not to include that. I just thought it was minor, but that's fine if you want to
I
bring
love
it up.
that moment.
Okay, great.
We actually
I thought it
have
was done
the
really
order
well.
of events quite out of order.
Do we?
Nice.
Yeah, I make random notes throughout the movie just for pacing, and so I remember what points I want to hit.
Okay.
So I think we got some stuff out of order, and this is exactly what I was talking about with if I had to extend a movie, I would choose this one, because this movie, we can see just by our inability to correctly remember, this movie is moving at a blistering pace.
Yeah,
a blistering pace.
It does.
We are scene to scene to scene.
It does.
So,
but I think that's a good thing.
So
but anyway, go ahead. Yeah.
We've got so when they arrive at school, and then Umbridge gives her speech, and you got Filch clapping really hard. You got Harry having dreams, and then you get Umbridge is cracking down on the rules, and you see Filch hanging up the rules. And then you have that little montage of her cracking down, and because she's like, that's when she's interviewing Snape, and she's talking about how, and he didn't get the job, and he's like, yes.
Oh yeah, that's a good moment too. I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's good too. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
And then you have the meeting in the pub where Harry gives the speech.
Yeah.
Which I will add is one of my favorite genuine scenes in the movie. I love Harry. It's so good.
Yeah.
And then they find the room of requirement where we've got Ron.
Yeah.
Where Hermione's like, it's
Neville
always equipped with what you need. So
Mm-hmm.
say you needed a toilet. Charming Ron is.
Yeah.
And then
I love that Neville finds it.
Yes.
I love that Neville finds the room of requirement. It's so perfect.
Then they start their lessons, and I made a note because I started laughing because I never noticed when Hermione is dueling Ron at one point in the room of requirement, and she sends him flying backwards. He makes this.
Yeah,
he makes this like high-pitched squealing noise, and I never noticed it before for some reason.
Doesn't he go to like Fred and George? He was like, I was going easy on her or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And then she just like laughs. She's like, okay, Ron. She's like laughing.
Then we get the kissing scene, because I made note of, for some reason, I never noticed Ginny Weasley looking back at Harry, and he's seeing that she's going to meet Cho. I never noticed that before.
Oh, okay.
And then you get the kissing scene, and then the emotional range of a teaspoon.
Right.
And then we get to Dumbledore's office.
Right. Okay. So the dream sequence happens here. Thank you for keeping us straight. Yeah. I don't take notes, guys. I'll be honest with you.
Well, normally your memory is impressive.
I know. Yeah. Mine's awful.
Thank you.
Like I remember like kind of big things, but if you ask like break scene by scene.
Well, I wouldn't remember
I
unless
don't
I
remember.
took notes.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
this movie, in terms of its school year, just feels like you were saying, it's at a blistering pace,
It's a
but it
lot.
just feels very different, than every other. Like the structure of it is
montages.
very different. Yeah, there's more montages. There's just things happening really quick. So it's just completely different in tone. So and then there's a couple times where I'll leave something out where it's like I just don't feel like we need to bring that up. If one of you guys want to bring it up when I go to you, you can. But there's definitely things that you brought up that I just leave out anyway because I'm just like I'm sure they'll bring that up anyway. So anyway, I just find that they kind of go into Snape's office and he's kind of telling him like, what's going on pretty much. He's like, we got to get on top of this before he invades your mind. And then I actually really like this transition that goes out, and then we go back to the Weasley's house and turns out that obviously we could tell that they're like cutting stuff out from the book here, when they transition from Snape's office over to the Weasleys, but I think it was one of the better transitions to do that, you know what I mean? Like, there were many moments like this in Goblet of Fire that just transitioned a lot weaker than this, and I just thought it was a really good-looking transition, so anyway, we
Also,
go into
not to actually, but it's actually they're at 12 Grimold Place. They're not at the Weasleys because they're hiding out.
Yeah.
They're all hiding out.
My bad.
Actually, they're at 12 Grimold Place. Did you even watch the movie?
I know. I'm not thinking.
Interesting.
I'm not thinking. So they're having Christmas at 12 Grimold Place.
Thank you.
Get a really cool scene with Lupin. I like the conversation that happens around this time, and I think it's awesome. I love Lupin. I'm so glad he's back in this.
I love him so much.
Love Lupin.
I talk about Lupin all day long, honestly.
Yeah, I'm a little more disappointed with Lupin in this film only because, and I get it, he's being a lot more diplomatic than he's been in the past, about things with Harry, but I get why he has to be. So that said, he's kind of being getting tongue-tied. So we go from that. I'm trying to think, is it this movie or the... No, sorry. I was going to say, I don't think he has a conversation with Mr. Weasley. He goes upstairs, he has a conversation with Sirius, is what ends up happening.
Serious, yeah,
which I love the wall of the family tree. Like, I think that looks really cool. So Sirius and Harry are having their conversation about what was going on with Sirius's family. It's a really cool scene to give us a lot of backstory. And Harry, is telling him, I feel angry all the time. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of teens can watch this and relate. You know what I mean? Because I think that every teen goes through like you were kind of saying, an angsty phase. I don't feel like it's overly angsty. I feel like this is just something that's very relatable to a lot of teens, although Harry's situation is different. He's feeling this way, for different reasons, but still, I find it great to give him that quality so, young adults can relate to that, and I think it's just played so well. And I really enjoy, moving forward here, because here is right around the time they're getting back to practicing, right, and then Trelawney, I believe, this is where she's getting fired, right, when they get back to the to Hogwarts.
I don't remember. I actually didn't make notes of that.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure it is. And so she gets fired. I love the scene again. Dumbledore is being very resistant to talk to Harry, but this is him doing his bare minimum. He has to come out. He's like, I got to make sure my teachers aren't getting kicked off the grounds. You can fire them, but that's crossing the line. So I really like that scene. And then Harry's trying to talk to him, and he still won't talk to Harry. And it's I feel like him and Harry had a conversation in the books, but maybe not. Because the way the movie plays it is he doesn't talk to Dumbledore at all, the whole year. I don't think that's how it was necessarily. But
it's Dumbledore is purposefully distancing himself.
For sure.
Harry.
No, don't get me wrong. I understand that, but it's I feel like they still had a couple conversations.
Remember.
Yeah, I still feel like they would have had a couple minor conversations in the book.
I don't remember in the book.
I'll have to reread it at some point, but I actually do. Funny enough, I want to mention, after rewatching these, I want to go back and do the books after this now. It's really inspired me to do so, because I need to brush up on my Harry Potter lore, that's for sure. So, so then we get back into Dumbledore's army. I'm pretty sure this is right around the time that Cho, rats him out as well. Because, they blow a hole through the wall, right? And
Right.
Yeah, so they blow the hole through the wall, and then they look through it. They reveal it's Cho that is with Umbridge and all of them, and yeah. So then they go back into Dumbledore's office. Percy is a dick, by the way. I don't know what happened to him. He became a massive
Percy,
ass.
yeah. Percy did become a real dick.
Yeah. He's bringing in Harry and yeah. It was just such an abrupt transition for that character.
Yeah.
I
think just we missed in between there. Did we miss Hagrid's brother?
Is it here or is it
No.
after this? It's after this. It's after this. It's after
next,
this.
But we
Right.
That's next. Okay.
We definitely missed when
I feel like we're missing something.
when Harry had a dream about Mr. Weasley, and they had to
That's
go
in here.
to Dumbledore's office. In
We
the middle
did
of the
talk
night.
about
Is that in
this.
here?
We did talk about this.
We did.
Yeah.
Because that happens before Christmas, I want to say. 'Cause
I already
think when they go
mentioned
back
that.
for
I already
Christmas-
mentioned
We must
this.
have gone by that. I feel like that's one of the most important scenes in the movie. We blew by
Yeah.
that.
I don't think we really.
What I
talked
was
about
gonna
it.
do is, I mentioned it. What I was gonna do was right after the Dumbledore's office scene right here, is I was gonna let you guys both touch on it. Yeah, so that's
Cool.
that was the plan. But anyway, sorry, I did bring it up, but because I mentioned about Harry's "look at me" line, and I talked about that already. But anyway, sorry. So then we get into Dumbledore's office, and then Dumbledore, he does his little thing with the Phoenix, and where he disappears, and this is where I want to cut off because Kingsley has the best line in the whole movie, where he's, "Whoa."
Can't deny it.
You may not like it,
got
Minister,
style.
but Dumbledore's got style. I love it. Love that line. Anyway, Adam, starting with the Harry dream sequence and starting there, what did you think of all that? And then we'll go to Samee after that on that. So
Yeah, I love the dream sequence like a lot. Like I just really liked the way it was put together. It felt very intense. It felt very dark. I don't know. There was something about that little dream sequence. It felt very urgent. It felt very important, and it was. And then the scene in Dumbledore's office is just like, oh, it's so cool. And you can cut the tension with a knife because, Dumbledore is just beating around the bush, like not really directly addressing Harry's actual problems. He's just kind of jumping around and telling the paintings to go do this and go do this, and then finally Harry explodes.
Yeah.
He's like, what is happening to me? And it just feels so raw, and so it's one of my favorite moments of this movie. I don't know. There's so much I love about that scene. It feels very emotional, feels very important. And then we start the stuff with Snape, and Snape comes in, and of course I like any time Snape comes in. Anytime. He's
a good presence. He's a good presence. Yeah.
Yes.
And then we got a quote I felt I wanted to write down when Harry's talking to Sirius, and Sirius says, we all have both light and dark inside us. What matters is what we choose to act on.
That's true. That's
really
a great line. It's a great line.
I feel like that's an incredible line. It's fantastic. I really like that. And then, of course, you got Dumbledore's escape, which he just kind of goes along with it. Like, oh, yep, that's my army. Yep. And I'm not going quietly. See ya. And he's out of there. Yeah, this whole section, kind of like we talked about, we are moving at a very blistering pace. So it is hard to kind of
it is hard to track.
Keep everything straight.
Mm-hmm.
So that that is this section of the movie and before is exactly why I wish it were just a little bit longer, because I feel like it would make it easier to track where you're at and to kind of blend through these different parts. And really make it easier to absorb, and you can have less kind of montages and more explanations.
Right.
But that being said, it's moving fast. It feels very urgent. It feels very important. And we have some very cool, very key dramatic scenes in this section of the movie that are really building to a crescendo that we're about to hit. So
absolutely. Samee?
Yeah, the big thing in there for me is I absolutely love the scene between Harry and Sirius in 12 Criminal Plays while they're like at the tapestry of the
Right.
Black family.
Right.
And I especially, again, this is why, again, another reason why I say this might be Daniel Radcliffe's best performance as Harry Potter, because I love when he's talking to Sirius and he's like, what if I'm feeling all of these things because I'm like, what if I'm just bad? And then Sirius goes, you're not bad, you're a good person whose bad things have happened to you, but you are a good person. And then again, it's, we all have light and dark in us, but it depends on what you do with it. I just have always loved that scene.
It's part of
such
the
a pivotal
reason
moment
Sirius
for their
is my
relationship, and
is my favorite, because of lines like that.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons, and the way Gary Oldman plays that character. But anyway, sorry,
Absolutely.
go ahead.
They're good. Is this occupancy lessons? Is that where this starts happening, or is that's next, right? That's about to happen, because I believe that's after, or I believe this is after Harry has his dream about Mr. Weasley, is when occupancy lessons start happening, because that's when Dumbledore realizes that Voldemort can access Harry's mind.
Right.
Yeah,
So right after that, he goes to
that.
Snape right after that. That's why I was talking about that transition from Snape's office to 12 Grimmauld.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, oh my gosh, that's some of my favorite scenes in this movie, is the Snape Harry occupancy lessons. It's so intense, it's really but it's so intense because of what they're doing, and it's like emotionally and draining. It's like, working out it's magically working out kind of. And it's draining, but it's also because of the relationship they have with each other, and how like Harry being in pain kind of is a good thing for Snape, and how Harry and Snape their whole relationship is so complex that for them to be in that situation is so fascinating.
Right.
And then later on, oh my gosh, I love absolutely when Harry uses it on Snape, and we go back into Snape's memories.
Right. I think that's like right around in this
that's right next,
area too. So I think we're good here. But yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'll just talk. Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's just so wonderful, because I've said before in our Prisoner of Azkaban review that that era of Harry's parents and when Snape was at Hogwarts, the Marauders era, as it's called, is just so fascinating to me, and there's so much more of it in the book, and we need more. I love seeing it in the film, actually being able to see James Potter like bully Severus Snape is just I mean it's bullying, but like I love to see it. I love to see
Adam
that
Driver,
whole era.
young Snape, make it happen.
Yeah.
I like need a minute. That's too perfect. You don't understand the emotions that would run through my body.
Yeah, it would be great.
If anybody could do it, Adam Driver could do it.
Oh my god, I would die. And you get to see, oh my god.
I would run naked down the street. Straight up.
Same. I like whatever Adam Driver needs, I will help you.
For sure.
What needs to happen to play Snape? Please, Warner Brothers, please. I swear, I know I've asked for a lot.
Yeah.
I've asked for a lot, Warner
About to
Brothers.
run naked
I've said a lot.
Through the Warner Brothers lot. Unless they make this happen.
Yeah, so
Swear to
one of
God.
the things I'll say about the occupancy lessons, when Harry's, obviously seeing, I just love it because of how integral it all is, obviously, and to later on.
Dad,
and
oh
yeah,
he's really seeing. He's like, oh, my dad was an asshole. Because in the books, it's made very clear that Harry's like, oh, I can still love my father, but understand that when he was my age, he was a real dick.
Oh yeah,
I can still love Sirius, but understand that when he was my age, he was a real dick.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that another thing about this is like I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but like how they carefully I feel like placed like the flashbacks from the other films around this time, and I love that. It's really cool because it's almost like taking a trip down memory lane in a way, so it's pretty cool. But yeah, so then we get into this is about the part where I think they catch Umbridge in the hallway right around here, punishing another student at this point, and that's when Fred and George are like, we gotta basically come up with a plan and do something. And we miss Grog. too, by the way. Grog is right before this. I'm so
Hagrid's
sorry.
brother. Yes.
Right, Grog comes right before this movie. I'm telling you, Grog comes right before this. So they introduce him to Grog.
Over a 600-page book, guys.
Yeah,
So
it really
my
is.
brain is
It's a lot.
bleeding.
It's a lot.
There's so much information.
Yeah, there is a lot of information, but it's all played very well. Grog is Hagrid's brother that he's been keeping in the forest, and we never really knew about it. But then we find out about him, and then we move into this is when they find out Umbridge is punishing a student. So right around here is when Fred and George come up with a plan, and then we get that really, I think, is a really fun fireworks scene when they're lighting off fireworks along the Great Hall on the brooms. I think it's awesome. I really like it. I like the entire school gets out of there and is just so stoked. And then I like how we go from that to like just massive intensity of Harry just passing out. You know what I mean? Almost passing out, really. And he was like, Voldemort's here. He's coming, and and then who's he have? He has Sirius in his mind.
Sirius,
like he's making him think he has Sirius. So he goes out and he tries to go gather the army, obviously gets caught by Umbridge, and Umbridge has him, and then this is when they devise a plan to basically, or they actually improvise a plan more than anything. Hermione even says that when they're taking Umbridge out to the woods, and he's like, what are you doing improvising? Umbridge gets taken. I think this is a big like woohoo cheer moment for everybody. So we really love seeing that. And then also after that, we find out that they gave I guess Umbridge's army some sweets, you know what I mean,
right.
to make them pass out. Anyway, so so they're all on the bridge, and this is one of the more integral Luna parts, is when Harry's like, how do we get to the Ministry? We fly, of course. We get over to the Ministry. I'm gonna stop after the Ministry, after this first part in the Ministry, so you guys can kind of really talk about this. But the first part of the Ministry is obviously we're walking down the halls, get through the prophecies, and then Harry finds the one that is most integral to him, obviously, and then Lucius pops up, right? Death Eater. He's so good. He comes in and he's
that hair.
That hair.
Freshly conditioned.
He really
shows
is.
up.
I'm sure they can smell it. They can smell fresh
Exactly. They're like, is that L'Oreal?
Yeah.
He looks like death, but the scent
condition.
and the shine,
Exactly.
the sheen on his hair screams life.
Exactly.
He's basically telling Harry here, he's like, give me the prophecy and I'll tell you everything. You know what I mean? And Harry's like,
what I use on my hair.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by everything. I'll tell you my secret.
I'll tell you everything, and you know what I mean by everything.
You know what
My
I mean.
condition.
yeah. And Harry basically is like, I've waited 15 years to find out what you use in your hair. I guess I could wait a
He's
little
like, I've
longer.
always wondered.
And then, they all use the Stupefy. They're running through the hallways. Oh my gosh, this is so visually stunning. And I love the dark tone here, by the way, too, with all the Death Eaters just coming after them.
Also, Bellatrix.
I love that
where
they're
we really
Bellatrix.
see Bellatrix for the first time.
We forgot about Bellatrix. She's kind of set up earlier, breaking out of Azkaban, but
pops up,
it's
yeah.
like a
This is the first time we really
minuscule
see
scene
her.
though, right? So yeah, I love how they're like casting spells on the prophecies. That moment when they all come crashing down, and it's like, oh my gosh, there's something visually beautiful about this, and just amazing, and it just feels so urgent and action packed, and I love it. And then they go down, and then they kind of like freeze, and then I'll stop right there and kind of let you guys talk about the first part of this Ministry thing here and the grog and all that. I'll start with Adam there though.
Yeah, this part of the movie starts getting real cool.
Yeah.
Like really cool.
Yeah.
So first of all, getting to watch Umbridge get carried away is just,
Yeah.
I feel it
It's
on a
awesome.
spiritual level. Okay, do you remember the Friday the 13th movie, Jason X?
Yes.
Do you remember the scene where the girls are in the sleeping bag and he picks them up?
Yes, and he slams them against the trees. Yeah.
That's what I want them to do to Umbridge. That's what I want to see Grog do to Umbridge. I just a little bit, just like a little pick her up by her
A
hair.
little
And
bit.
Yeah. like
that's
Hulk
just-
does to
don't
Loki,
kill her.
like Hulk does to Loki
Right.
in Avengers.
Yeah, that's perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
He doesn't die. It's just a little pain.
Right.
Yeah.
So satisfying to see her get carried away.
Yeah. For
She's
sure.
like, I always hated children. So great.
yeah.
Again, these people in education not interested for the
Right.
benefit of educating children, but
Yeah.
so
Right.
they can be in positions of high power.
100%.
Yep, absolutely.
100%.
Yeah, and then to reference again the scene with Snape, just because I love it so much.
Sure.
I love Snape so much. Did I say that? Have I said that?
Worth repeating.
I like his character so much, and that scene with Harry is so incredibly important in seeing, you know, the layers of Snape's character, because I mean, you know, they say onions have layers, ogres have layers, and Snape has layers. You know, they're all one and the same, you know. So this is another
Exactly.
layer of Snape, seeing into his mind and seeing, you know, how he got treated and bullied in school, and it makes sense, you know, how he turned out kind of an angry person and kind of a quiet person, and it all makes sense. And in that moment, that's kind of the first moment where you really feel, you kind of shed a tear for Snape. You feel really bad for him. So incredible, very important moment for Snape's character.
Absolutely.
And then, oh boy, when we get to the Department of Mysteries, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
visually, I'm talking visually, like one of the most pleasing, probably the most pleasing sequence, this entire third act, most pleasing visual and audible sequence in the whole series.
For sure.
I mean, incredible. And when you were on your poop break, Sammy and I were talking about how I'm pretty sure it's this movie. I watched kind of a short little documentary where they were talking about not just the visual effects, but how the sound effects kind of changed as the movie went on. And they changed the sound of magic. They changed. And I think Order of the Phoenix was, if I remember right, the movie where it kind of transitioned, and you kind of, you can tell the sound effects. It's some of those, it's that thing that nobody really thinks of that hard. If sound effects are good, you don't really notice it that much.
Right.
And you don't ordinarily notice too much, but in this movie, this is the first movie where I thought for the first time, every time I watch it, I'm like, these are badass sound effects. Like the sound of the magic, and when the Death Eaters are just like rippling away and turn into smoke, and you know the wands are going, and then of course we'll get into, you know, Dumbledore and everything later. That's a whole nother animal that I could go on for days about. But anyway, the visuals hold up in this scene, the sound effects hold up in this scene. Just everybody was on their A game when they were doing this.
100%.
And I can't believe how amazing this scene still feels to watch all these years later. As many times as I've watched this movie, I still cannot get over how incredible this scene is. So I can't speak highly enough of it.
100%, man. I even like those little tingles that, like, you hear that, you know, they're like chimes, like when they're walking through and the prophecies are, like, you know, kind of doing their thing. I love that, and it's a very subtle thing, but it's very cool. But anyway, Sammy, what do you got on all this?
Yeah, I really love, again, all of this. The one thing that really I really love is, again, I love the entire character of Bellatrix, and Helena Bonham Carter is just a goddess among humans. And the part I really love is when her and Neville are like looking at each other, and she's like, "How's mom and dad?" And he goes, "Better now that they're about to be avenged." And Harry has to like stop him.
Well, that's not there yet. Like, I don't think, is it? Is it right there?
I think that's there. I think that's before. I think that's before they fall into the thing.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Sorry about that. Sorry about that.
That's when they meet Lucius. Yeah, it is because Lucius is there, and then behind. Yeah.
Okay, because I meant to bring that up, but I thought it was in the hole for some reason. But anyway, go ahead. Yeah, you're good.
No, that's before that. Yeah, but I just always have loved that part, and then I also really love when Ginny does like her spell, and it's just like the biggest freaking explosion of all time.
It's great.
Oh, it's so good. And then also about real quick about Fred and George, their whole like explosion of Umbridge was always just the most satisfying thing in the world.
Yeah.
I always loved it so much, and I just love Fred and George. And they say something. They're like Fred. They're like, you think I always thought that our talents were better used outside of an academic setting, and they're like,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
And they're like, so we're gonna do this thing. And they're like, yeah, we're gonna do this thing because they know they're gonna get expelled, and they do. And
Yeah.
at least in the book they do, and it's incredible.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's awesome. I mean, and then when you fall into the hole, obviously, like I said, they freeze themselves and then they come back up, and then all the Death Eaters and everything, they meet them down there, and then they got them held, and this just feels like the most intense thing in here all of Harry Potter so far up until this point, and it's just crazy, and then I like obviously then Harry goes up to Lucius, and then I like the how everything just kind of stops, like, and then Sirius, is right there. He's like, "Stay away from my godson." I love it, and then he just punches him, and then we get this like huge ass battle down there, and then Harry
And then everyone starts showing up.
Everybody, yeah, it's amazing. The whole Order of the Phoenix, I guess, comes down to help him, and then I love Harry casts the spell. This part's amazing, and then nice one, James, and then they go back and forth, and then like they kill Sirius dies. Daniel Radcliffe
Just
right
the
here.
last thing he ever says to Harry, the last thing Harry ever
Nice one,
heard
James,
from his
right.
godfather was the nice one, James.
I know. It's sad as hell.
So nice. But
It's nice, but it's sad.
It
Yeah.
hurts. It hurts. It
And-
I'll be right back and go get
hurts.
some water.
You're fine.
Be
And
good.
Daniel Radcliffe right here does an amazing job. Do you know that they had to silence that yell because apparently it was like that, like insanely,
didn't.
like, yeah, they silenced that
Wow.
because his actual yell, they said
This is his best performance.
they said
I'm
it's
committed.
great. It's great. And then like because they said that his actual yell, like when he was yelling in that scene, they had to silence it. They were going to use it, but the reason they had to silence it is because they thought it would have been way too much. They said it was just that
Right.
committed, and like they thought for something that they wanted kids to see, it was just too much.
They were like, the acting
Yeah.
great, but if we add the sound to it, it might be too much.
which is awesome. Awesome to hear that he dedicated himself to that. You could tell it's
Yeah.
in his face, you know what I mean? Like he
Mm-hmm.
looks so dedicated to this performance, and it's just, oh my gosh, it's intense. It's intense as hell when he goes running
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
after Bellatrix. I know everybody makes fun of the I killed Sirius, but whatever.
Yeah.
It's intense to me in this
But
moment.
it goes to
and
just show how committed she is to evil and how
Right. Well,
it
how
makes sense
committed
for
she
her
is.
character.
You
It
know?
does.
Yeah.
yeah, and then he basically strikes her down. He's ready to kill this
And that's her
woman.
cousin too. Remember, that's her like first cousin.
Yeah.
Sirius Black.
Right, exactly. He's going to take her down, and then obviously this is where Voldemort shows up, and then we get this epic battle because Dumbledore shows up.
Yeah.
Incredible battle, and then another great moment here right after the fact is like when Voldemort obviously disappears after a little while, and he basically invades Harry's mind, which is what they all foresaw happening. And now we're seeing it come to fruition. I'm telling you guys, there is nothing more dramatic, at least up until this point, than Harry being possessed, and it looks like all hope is lost. And his friends having to watch him go through this was just devastating. And the job, again, that Daniel Radcliffe did here is incredible. It's unbelievable. I love, again, all the flashbacks to past movies. When they show the shot from Sorcerer's Stone, when he's looking at his friends, like the way that transition works, it breaks my heart. And then I love the mirror when he's looking in the mirror, and then he sees his face turns into Voldemort, and then you see Voldemort go, "Look at me," and it's like, oh my god, because it backtracks to what happened before, and it's just like it's all coming together. This is something that was just done so much better than it was in the book. I feel like the book could not explain it this well. I don't feel like I feel like this is something you have to see for it to have the true effect, and the score is just tragic, and it's all done so well, and it's amazing. It is like the reason I think that this movie got set over the top for me is this how dark this actually did get and how in depth it got, and this Harry, breaking out of it, finally is just obviously amazing because, he breaks the mirror, and I just love how it was illustrated. You know what I mean? Like, you could read this in a book, but it's like until you see it illustrated onto a film again, it doesn't have that effect. And, so that was really, really great. And then obviously, Cornelius Fudge walks in and he's back. It's like, no shit. We've been trying to tell you.
We've been trying to tell you.
Oh, man. So, thank God he finally had his realization about, Voldemort being back, which led to some pretty satisfying results in the next film. Obviously, Fudge, stepped down from his position. But then the, conversation between Harry and Dumbledore, it's like, I'm sure I can understand how you're feeling this year. And Harry going, no, you don't, is tragic. And then, and then Dumbledore explains to him what the prophecy actually means. None can live, all the other survives, which is really, really cool and insightful, obviously. And then, we get the ending to Hogwarts, and he's like, it was something Harry said to his friends, or something that Dumbledore said to me. You know what I mean? It's not what I can't remember the line, Sammy, specifically. It's not what we're fighting for. It's not what we're fighting for. I don't remember.
It's something that, like, we have something that he doesn't have. It's something like that. Like, we have something that he'll
something
never
that
have.
We're fighting for. It's something along those
something
lines.
worth fighting for.
Right.
Yeah, we have something that he'll never have. We have something worth fighting for. Yeah.
So for sure. I mean, I find this ending to be incredible. I like that it ends with them getting on the train again, almost like the first film. Again, David Yates kind of taking pieces of all the filmmakers, you know what I mean, and putting them into one thing. I just thought it worked really, really well. But Adam, yeah, the ending of the film, man. What do you got?
Yeah.
Should we come back to
the end of this movie isn't just good, it is slap yo mama good. It is so good. Like, it makes you so happy and it feels so intense. You just want to punch a hole in a wall out of pure excitement. I thought you were gonna say
you just want to punch a hole in your mama.
In your mama. You just want to physically assault the woman that birthed you. Sorry, Mom. I won't hit you, I swear. No, dude. Oh my gosh. Shoot.
Yeah.
So, something I really love before I talk about Dumbledore and all that. I really love, once again, we're playing with the angels and demons, heaven and hell sort of theme. We've got the Death Eaters when they like get caught up into this like black vapor, and when they're going across the room, and then you see the good guys come in, and they are shining bright, like these bright miraculous white figures, and they have this almost heavenly cloud following them, and you just see this like clear war between good and evil, pure brightness and pure darkness. Yeah. And it's just really cool.
Sure.
And then getting into the scene with Dumbledore and Voldemort. Oh my good golly. It's literally, this is how, like, I imagine it went. I imagine the director just sat down during this part of the movie and just like looked at the video effects department and the sound effects department and was like, do you guys just like want to be huge douchebags? Like, do you just want to embarrass the rest of the film industry? Do you just want to show off for like 10 minutes? Just do whatever the hell you want? And they're like, yeah, I think we'll do that. And the visual effects artists were just like, I don't even know. Stuff was happening in every direction. And the sound effects are incredible.
Right.
There are just so many things going on at once. You got all these colors and these sparks and explosions. And oh my gosh. I'm going to say right now, we'll revisit later, but from what I can tell, this is my favorite scene in the whole series. Like, maybe I'll eat those words later when we get back into Deathly Hallows Part 2, because the final scene is just phenomenal. So it's pretty neck and neck. But as of right now, from what I can remember, this scene is my favorite. in the series, it hits hard. It almost makes you want to cry. Like, honestly, it feels huge. It feels emotional. And, you know, once again, you know, we talked about the parallelism with, you know, good and evil, and God and the devil.
Yeah.
And you got light and you got dark.
Yeah.
And you got what the only person that Voldemort is afraid of really is Dumbledore, and he's battling him. And Dumbledore is just this, you know, bearded, long-haired, wise man. It's almost like he's stepping in as our own wizardly version of God. And then we've got
Right.
Voldemort that is kind of like the devil, and they're battling it out, and it's like they're mortal enemies, and it's so cool.
Yeah.
I just want to hit something. I feel some type of way about it.
Yeah, I got you.
And then, you know, when you kind of got Voldemort basically possessing Harry, is in the effects with like the dust and the glass and just like suspended in midair in this cylinder. And you see the look in Harry's eyes where he's clearly like Voldemort is inside him and speaking through him. Yeah. And it's like this demonic possession looking thing. It's very intense.
Yeah. And you've lost, old man. That's such a good line. Just saying, I like that line.
Such an amazing moment happening between Dumbledore and Harry, where I think Dumbledore realizes for the first time in this moment, I was wrong. Like I shouldn't have been distant from him. I should have prepared him for this.
Yeah, for sure.
And he's like, no, like, Harry, no, you're stronger than this. Like, please. And it almost feels like Dumbledore is pleading with him. Like he feels really sorry for what's happening to him, and he wants him to pull through.
Yeah.
And, you know, then you got that sweet moment where Harry finally, you know, flips the script and is like, you know, I feel sorry for you because you'll never know love or friendship. Like, and then he leaves his body and he's got a face-to-face moment with Voldemort. And oh my gosh, that whole scene is so incredible. Like, it's so impactful. And I don't know, I can't speak highly enough of it.
Yeah, for sure.
And then the end of the movie is beautiful. You get a beautiful view at the end of the movie. Just fantastic way to end this movie. The end of this movie is so good that I really, honestly, every character, they could have been making fart noises for dialogue for the whole movie. It wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, the end is so good to me. That's just my perspective.
For sure.
Maybe somebody watching this is like, this guy is so extra. I don't know what he's going on about. But I don't know. This movie clearly had some sort of emotional impact in my life.
No, dude, I feel the same way. Like, everything you just described about the way how excited you feel about the ending of this. Like, I do. I echo that 100%. Like, it's seriously that good to me as well. So, like, I understand your emotions on it completely. It's just that good. Anyway, Samee, what do you got?
Oh my God, yeah, 100%. I totally echo everything that Adam just said. It's just, again, it's hard to describe. It's literally your villain is going inside of the mind of the hero, and the hero is literally now literally has to battle, like, who gets possession of this body. Like, that's literally, like, one of the hardest things you could put your hero through, and it's done so wonderfully. And it comes out that it's to prove, you know, the point of they're gonna win because they have love and friendship on their side, and that's worth fighting for, and that's why they're gonna win. And why Voldemort will always lose in the end is because he doesn't have those things, and he doesn't have the capacity to have those things. And it encapsulates all of that just so wonderfully. And I mean, I'm gonna say it, I'm 100% now. This, I think, is Daniel Radcliffe's best performance as Harry Potter.
Probably. Because really
I don't know what else to say other than it's just remarkable acting. It's so wonderful, and it's such a pivotal moment in the entire story of Harry Potter that this is I mean, he's come face to face with Voldemort like twice now, like face to face, the actual Voldemort, but it's on a whole nother level at this point. It's literally infiltrating his whole self. And it takes that much to get him out of it. And again, it just shows that the only thing Voldemort really can fear is Dumbledore. That's the only person that he really feels threatened by. And then again, I love the ending too for those same reasons. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, that'll do it. Want to thank everybody for joining here today. Really, really amazing movie. And I just had so much fun rewatching it today. And I'm glad to call it the best one so far of every one we've talked about, in my opinion. And
where do you guys? What's your ranking right now?
Okay, so
let's go through what our current
You already
ranking
know
is.
what it is.
You guys have the same number one.
5,
So
3, 1, 4, 2.
Okay.
Yeah. Where are you at?
Me, I go 3, 5, 2, 1, 4.
3, 5.
That's where I go.
You're
It's
still
kind
3
of-
at
So
top, huh?
3, 5. Yeah, 3, 5, 2, 1, 4. 3, 5, 1,
Okay.
2, 4. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, a lot of how I judge it, it seems to be based on how it impacts me emotionally, even as opposed to how it is actually pulled off. I tend to be a very emotional person, so when things impact me
That's
emotionally,
fair.
it could almost be slightly trash, and I will still like it more
Right.
than something that's flawless. So for me, I'm tempted to say that it is either 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 or 5, 4, 3, 1, 2.
Yeah.
But that being said, Goblet of Fire and Prisoner of Azkaban, I could put Prisoner of Azkaban above Goblet of Fire, but I do find Goblet of Fire to be so exciting that I think Prisoner of Azkaban was more well made. I think
It's
a
definitely
phenomenal
more
movie.
well made. Yeah, I think.
But Goblet of Fire is very exciting. It has that dark tone, So I'm tempted to go either 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 or
Yeah.
5, 4, 3, 1, 2.
Yeah. I'm just happy I haven't walked out on any of these yet, and been like, oh man, that didn't hold up well. You know what I mean? Like every
Yeah,
single
not
one has
possible.
still
Yeah.
been good. Every single one has still been good. So I'm really happy about
There's
that.
only one that I feel that way, and we will get there in many a weeks, but it's not.
Yeah.
It doesn't start with Harry Potter and the.
Yeah.
I'll give you a hint there.
Oh yes.
I think what's phenomenal about these movies is that I genuinely think that somebody who did not grow up reading these or watching these, like a teenager today, like a 14-year-old right now that didn't grow up with this as a part of their life, I genuinely feel like they could watch this right now and be just as
Yeah.
engrossed in it as we are. And that is, argue with me, I guess, but I think that is the difference between a series like Harry Potter and Star Wars, for instance, where Star Wars is so beloved to the people who grew up on it. People who did not grow up on Star Wars have a very hard time understanding. People like Brett, our old boss, who didn't grow up watching it, and he doesn't even want to watch it because he thinks it looks stupid.
I found that to be true. I
It's
found that to
so
be true as well.
old, or
People,
there are
it's
things that are ridiculous.
yeah.
So I think this series it's so consistent and so incredible and so well made that I think that's just one area where it has a leg up on a series like that. I think it can impact anybody of any age, no matter when you grew up, and it'll always be that way.
Yeah, for sure. It is. It's one of the most accessible franchises out there for sure, and it's like that for a reason. But yeah, I mean, guys, only a few more left in the Harry Potter saga part anyway. I mean, we haven't moved.
And then we're gonna start over and do it again.
Then I'm gonna read the books, and we're gonna do Fantastic Beasts saga.
So we're gonna read the books, and then we're gonna do this with the books.
Exactly. We're gonna do the Cursed Child too. Get ready for that.
Yeah. If
Get
y'all want to start
for girl shits all over play for 2 hours. Get ready for that.
y'all want to start a book review show on this channel, you go right ahead. I already got too much going on, but anyway.
I ain't much for book learning.
Yeah, thank you guys for being here,
Audiobooks.
and yeah, we could do that. Yeah, thank you guys for being here so much, appreciate it. And Adam, where can people find you before we get out of here?
Yes, same as always at the Red Eclectic on everything: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all the rest.
Yeah, definitely go check him out, guys, on everything he's doing. And Samee, where can people find you?
Yeah, you guys can find me on Instagram. I'm at Samee Ramirez 14, and then also on Twitter as well as Stereo at Samee Ramirez.
Right on, right on. Thank you for being here. And for myself, you can find me on Twitter at Dom_Martino_ and on Instagram, Dom_Martino_ official. Damn it, Adam. I'm so glad you're entertained by my handles. And then on stereo at Dom Martino, we keep that one simple. So, yeah, guys, thank you so much for being here.
You're going to have to go in and change that. Add more underscores to that one.
Keep it on brand.
Consistency.
Yep. That's exactly what it is. Anyway, guys, thank you for being here, and I appreciate it. This has been a fun talk about Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let us know what you think of the movie, and thank you guys. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.